Welcome back to Papa's These Bees. Today we're going to put some winter feed on the hives. We're going to use the HiveAlive fondant. We've used this will be our third winter that we've used this, and it's really great stuff for new beekeepers who are trying to figure out what to feed. Some people put sugar, just straight sugar, or use sugar boards or whatever. I guarantee you this stuff will beat any of that because it's got it's a nice fondant, plus it's got HiveAlive into it. So we'll start putting them on, and we'll be right back in a minute. Okay, so what we'll do is first we got to go in and pull the top off, and then we've got to go in. If you can see in here, the bees are still way up in here in the rapid round feeder. And just so if you remember, the reason we can't use the rapid round feeders in the winter is because it's liquid, and it's really not good when it starts to get cold consistently to have the bees try to feed them liquid, because they won't take it as much. So you pull this off. And I'm going to smoke down there to get the bees to go down inside. Not all of them went, but I've got the ones I've got in here that I'll just set them over here. And so what I do is you cut a hole to match the center hole in the top of the cover here. If you can see the cover before I put this down, you can see how I lay it down on there, and we'll lay that hole right down on top like that, and then we'll cover this up. We've got the double bubble wrap in the top here, and then we've got the HiveAlive. That double bubble will help keep it pretty warm in there, and that way the fondant won't freeze. Plus the heat of the bees coming up through that central hole will keep it a little bit warm, and then plus the overall cavity in here will retain that warmth from the bees, so the bees won't really lose any heat, because again, that hole is in the bottom, and the solid top on the fondant pack will prevent most of that heat from coming out. So let's go to the horizontal hive now. Okay, so here we have the same fondant pack here, and we'll raise this up, and you've noticed a little bit modification from the last time we were in this hive. For one thing, we had the bee buffet in here, and we'll have to pull it out, and I want to get the bees to go back inside. I want them out, and of course the hole's not exactly in the right spot. They're not real happy with me because this is, they're cold, and they're just not happy. So what I'm going to have to do is I need to cut a hole, enlarge the hole here. So so I've enlarged the hole, and of course as I did, they were not happy with me, and they started flooding out. So I've got to put the hole back on top of here, and then the bees will come up inside there and eat the fondant like we talked about. And I always like the clear side up, so I can open this up and look and see how much they've eaten, because what they'll do is they'll start with a round hole in the middle as they come right straight up, and then they'll go out and they'll eat the entire fondant pack out. Some people say that theirs don't do that, but last year we had one of the two flow hives actually eat two of the fondant packs and part of a third. So they do like it. Now the next thing is we're going to do the nuke, and it's again different in that we don't have one single spot that we can do it, so the whole method's not going to work. So what we're going to have to do is to see how much of this will even fit. Yeah, it's not going to fit too well. I'm just going to cut this thing in half. Okay, so what I have here, end up with is 4 pieces of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just lay them in here. The reason you don't take the plastic off completely because the stuff will really dry out over the winter. So I'm going to put a piece right there and a piece right here. Now, one other thing that we have to do when we do this is we have to turn this cover a piece around. So let me get my smoke, because this is currently set to where it will only work with liquid. And so we'll turn it around. And the bees can come out from under this and get in here and get the fondant. So I'll put this lid back on. You don't have to check this because I've not ever done this, but this is what Fred Dunn had suggested, that we just cut them like this. In fact, he said cut them in half, but in this smaller feeder, they just won't work. And I'll just put this right back in here like this. And put the little cover back on it. And they'll get up in here and they'll eat that hopefully, fondant. Okay, so we're back at the last of the 2 flow hive boxes, and we'll do exactly the same thing we did here. Again, we've got a lot of bees that are just out in here, so I'll have to take this off. And they didn't take all of that liquid, so again, that's more than likely because it was just too cold. And it has warmed up today. It's currently in the low 60s, which is really warm, but tomorrow it's supposed to be much, much colder. So again, we'll take the hole that I cut, and we'll just place this right over that hole in the middle. And again, they'll come up in this hole first, and we'll be able to watch them eat. So why it's good to watch them eat, it'll be important to know when we need to add another one. Now, this is emergency feed, as we've talked about in the past, which means they won't, in theory, they won't use it until they've exhausted the winter stores that are here in their winter store box. So we'll just have to wait and see. So we'll put this cover back on again. So we've got a pretty good enclosure here, sealed enclosure that will keep the heat in and allow that fondant to stay warm and the bees to stay warm, and hopefully make it through the winter. I know Fred Dunn has had this same situation, but so far we've been very lucky. Last year we overwintered 3 hives that we put the fondant in, 3 out of our 3. The first winter we overwintered 2 of our 2, so I hope I'm not, like they say, knock on wood, but hopefully this year all 4 hives will make it. The average of letting bees overwinter alive is usually about 30 to 40% losses. And so in that case, if that's the case, we would lose possibly 2 hives if we were in a normal situation. But I really am confident and feel good about this HiveAlive fondant patty, in that the stuff in it will help their gut in the winter, help them live longer, help them live more healthy, and just have enough food to live. That's the most important thing. So keep our fingers crossed, and we'll see you in the spring. And just a couple of days after we put them in there, they've already eaten a hole through the fondant. So they love this stuff, and it really seems to help them make it through the winter. Give it a try.